talk about very quickly today, Ekta, is the global event which is lined up. I mean, which is Mr. Donald Trump, President-elect of the US, speaking our time at 9:30 this evening. You know, the first level impact always is going to be on the forex markets, but then that always kind of percolates down to stocks, etc. And there has been so much discussion about what all he will focus on. I mean, if you read some of the global media, I mean, will he talk about border taxation? Will he talk about some of his tweets, his successes, as he claims they are, of keeping companies back at home, corporate taxation? Could he talk about that? Or could he not talk about any of that and just talk about, you know, this entire controversy about whether Russia was involved in swaying US elections? But this is an important one, because this is the first time you're hearing from the man himself after his victory speech, right? I mean, which was I mean, 9th of November. Okay, let's just put out relevant stuff for what you want to watch as somebody sitting here in India. Now, there are two ways to look at it. One is to ask the question, because of all of what is happening in the US and what Mr. Trump is saying, will US FDI into India be at risk, right? I think that's the point that Ruchir Sharma made earlier. If taxation there goes down quite a bit, why would you invest somewhere else? You would invest in the home country, that is the US. I looked at data, and this is government data, by the way, of FDI equity inflows. I mean, you could look at the total equity plus debt as well, but I looked at equity inflows, which is what you generally look at, over a 16-year period, between 2000 and 2016. The total inflow from the US, FDI equity inflow into India from the US over the 16-year period is 6% of the total, right? I mean, that is a stunning figure. For all the, I mean, attention, and maybe, in a way, rightly so, and this is, by the way, purely FDI, but for all of the attention, the total amount of money is only 6% of the total, which India has received. Now, to be sure that in absolute terms, the number is increasing, right? I mean, FDI flows last year were at a record high. US's share is also rising, right? The numbers are getting larger, the share is rising. But this is a percentage of the total money which is coming from the US, from US companies. The total in absolute terms is $18 billion. It translates to about 6% of the total, right? So that is one. So the conclusion being, I mean, US is not a very large FDI investor in India anyway to begin with. The second is, because of you know, measures which Mr. Trump may announce once he takes power, will exports to US get affected? Indian exports to US are about 15%. I shouldn't say only, but they're about 15% of the total. They could, I mean, they could be higher, but they are 15% as of now. A large portion of that would be in the field of IT services. IT services, of course, are under a huge cloud, right? And I think we all know that. But beyond that, beyond IT services, if there is any direct linkage between what Mr. Trump may do and the impact here in India, I mean, that relationship kind of seems tenuous at best. I mean, there is fear that it may happen, but it's kind of not very clear in what sense. I'm completely not touching upon what portfolio flows may do, which is finance capital, right? Which is, I mean, investments from FPIs or FIIs as they are known. That is a different discussion, I think, but we get enough comments from market experts on that. I just touched upon FDI here in this chat.
Okay, well, that's something to look forward to in terms of what Trump says, but important news on